married the love of my life, my darling Bette. With a smidgen of shame, I have to admit that we were unexpectedly pregnant when we tied the knot. However, that did not change the love and commitment we felt for each other at that time, or now, 30 years later. Back in 1986, I was struggling with my enlistment in the Army. Though I could not have more supporting men, I hated the military. It was not the kind of life I wanted to have for me or my family. Unfortunately, with no education to fall back on, my horizons were fairly limited at the time. With a child on the way, my wife and I had many emotional and long conversations about our future. Whoops. It was a whoops, right? We both knew that whatever decisions we made would have vast consequences on the rest of our lives, and that on the life of our unborn child. Boy, I am really screwing it up here today. Let's see, where are we? Blah, 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 last, I was adamant at that time that I was not going to re-enlist. I hated the Army so much. I knew there was no possibility of a future there. So some of you may be jumping to some conclusion here, but let me say this. Abortion was never a choice for us either. Though our pregnancy was unexpected, it really truly was a miracle of love, and so terminating it was not an option there. That left us with two choices as we saw it. The first choice was to face an uncertain future as undereducated parents, uncertain in how we would provide for our child. We wanted to provide a stable, prosperous home for our child, and that possibility was very limited in our situation at the time. We wanted our baby to have the best possibility, the best chance for a prosperous life. So we made the second choice. Dun, dun, dun. At 2:18 in the morning, on Thursday, November 13th, 1986, at the Tripler Army Medical Center on Oahu, Hawaii, our son was born. He was 22 inches long, 6.8 ounces, and though I may be a bit biased, he was perfect in every way. Three days later, we made the hardest conscious choice any newborn parent could ever possibly make. We left that hospital without our son so that he could go home with adoptive parents. Let me put a little bit of context around that. The newborn adoption process in Hawaii back in the 80s was pretty thorough. Adoptive parents had to go through a thorough quality check, background check, so on and so forth. And birth parents had some limited say on who could adopt their child. So believe me, it made no difference in the difficulty of walking out of that hospital without our child. But we had some small consolation in the fact that we knew our son would go to a prosperous home with a stable family. For nearly 29 years, not a day went by that we did not think about our son, especially every November 13th. Though we truly believed that we did the right thing, there was always that tiny little Darth Vader voice of uncertainty shouting its accusations at us. How could you abandon your son? How could you leave him at that hospital all alone? You are terrible people. Coming up here to 2015, About sometime in July, on a whim, my wife contacted the Hawaiian Adoption Services. Amazingly enough, a few days later, she got a response from Christine Altweez, our caseworker, who said she would help us. Nearly 4 months went by, dead ends. And then, last Monday afternoon, Christine calls and says, not only has she found our son, but she's spoken to him on the phone. And he wanted to speak to us. Oh my gosh, we were so happy. Needless to say, I forgot about everything. It was the hardest thing to concentrate and get through that Monday afternoon. All day Tuesday was a fog, all day Wednesday a fog, until early afternoon when my boss came up to me and said, you know, if you don't have anything pressing to do for work, go ahead and take off. Well, you know, as much as I do enjoy Toastmasters, there was nothing that was going to keep me from making it home in time for that call. It was one of the most cathartic experiences of my life talking to our son. It was like this huge weight was lifted right off of our hearts. My son's name is Sam. His wife of 8 years is Shelley. I have a grandson. His name is Liam, who just celebrated his first birthday on the very day that Christine called us and told us that she found our son. I practiced so long to not cry here. Sorry about that, folks. They're tears of joy. After hearing my story, personal experience, I hope you can all understand my state of mind last week and why I missed our meeting. In closing, all I can say, that it was the best Thanksgiving ever. Thank you.